Give a hand to Michelle Falconer.
Thank you. Hello, and welcome. I am Michelle Falconer. I am here to kind of talk to you about battling through and your breakthrough with dragons. This is my very first time telling my story, so I hope I make it through, and I hope that you walk away with some gems to slay your own dragon. I'm sorry, I'm going way too fast. Okay, so every entrepreneur has a dragon, right? It may not breathe literal fire, but it breathes fear, uncertainty, and it brings obstacles that sometimes feel too big to overcome. Some dragons stop us before we even start. Some break us in the middle. And some come at you when you think that you've made it and you're on top. That's exactly what happened to me. In 2020, I found my dragon, and my dragon didn't have one head. It had 3 heads. 3 heads, 3 fires, 1 dragon. Life was humming for me in 2020. I was on magazine covers. I was the Atlanta president of this ELO chapter. We had just celebrated on February 25th our very first ever award show at the aquarium next to the beluga whales. 4 days later, I was in Jamaica. I'm celebrating my oldest child, which is my 3rd child, going off to college. It was her spring break, enjoying the sun, living my best life. Tuesday morning came, it was 9:07 a.m., and I get the call that changed my whole life. It was my dragon. My mother called and said, hey, your sister who's 37 just passed away. She was getting her kids up for school and had a massive seizure and died in the bathroom. The thing about it was so disheartening is that she had just survived a significant motorcycle accident a year and a half before that. She wasn't supposed to make it. She was then going to be a paraplegic. Not only did they save both of her legs, but she had a colostomy bag. She had 12 different surgeries over a 12-month span. So right away, as we are dragon slayers, I catch the next flight out, leave my husband and my 2 daughters in Jamaica, and I come to be with my mom on Wednesday. My youngest sister comes home on Thursday. We're planning, writing out the obituary. We're looking for pictures and all that kind of stuff. And 6 o'clock at night, we get a call that my father passed away. 2 days later, so he had been diagnosed with stage 4 stomach cancer 6 days prior to dying. My sister was gonna go out there on Friday when she got out of school. She was a professor, to go and spend her spring break with him to kind of, see what we were gonna do, what the plan was. They said if, we did nothing, he had about 3 months, and if he went hard in the pain and, chemo and all that stuff worked, then he might be able to make it a year and a half. So in 2 days, I had lost a sibling and a parent, and when we got home on that Monday, it was shelter in place if you had gone out of the country for spring break. My sister had 3 daughters. She had a 9-year-old, 11-year-old, and a 13-year-old. So that Monday morning, I was homeschooling 7 kids, a 4th grader, a 5th grader, a 7th grader, an 8th grader, a senior in high school, a freshman in college, and a sophomore in college. We had 5 different schools, school systems, times that they got on, and 1 internet. Now remember, I was the president of EO, and very quickly it became not only shelter in place, but the global pandemic. There is nothing I trained for this. I was the 25th annual president of the ELO chapter, and I was just gonna be doing parties. That was really the extent of my presidency. I am a party girl, so that was right up my lane. And here I found myself trying to be something for other people. So I got on the phone and called every single member, it was like 156, to see, how are you doing? What do you need from EO Global? What do you need from me as a president? And how can the board support you? We learned very quickly that we needed to call and do Zooms with other chapters in China because they kind of started the pandemic. And then we moved to Europe, and we're kind of figuring out, okay, we're a month behind where you were, what were you guys doing? And that was my dragon. I had to name my dragon. My dragon head, this one was called loss. The loss, and every one of us could share in it. You may not have lost a child or a parent or a sibling, but you lost the ability to run your business, to go outside, to go to a restaurant. And so all of us had that in common, and that was the way that I slayed that dragon. Then my second head came, and that was Black Lives Matter. All of this was in the same year. And it's funny how when you're going through life and all of the things, you realize that you pick up skill sets along the way. I identify as a Black woman, but I'm actually mixed. My mother is white, and we can trace our ancestry back to one of the 41 signers on the Mayflower. So I found that I had a particular set of skills to really bridge the gap between what you're seeing on TV and what the reality actually is. I'm very grateful for EO because we had all of our major events set for the second half of my term because that's when you have to go for renewals. So we always make sure we have banging events towards the end. But because of the pandemic, we weren't able to do a lot of those events. Instead, we ended up doing a book called White Fragility. It was kind of like a book club. And then we had a meeting and we talked about it. Because EO specializes in sharing information and 5% sharing, it was a very safe environment for us to have a real conversation. That real conversation was designed for you to then take it back and have a real conversation with your businesses and the people that work for you. And you could see kind of where people are coming from. And we have way more in common than we have differences. So that was my second dragon, just trying to take another step and not necessarily being perfect, not waiting for the right time, because at this point we didn't know if the pandemic was ever going to end. It's just taking the next step. The last dragon is fear. Now, I don't know how many of you have children, but the biggest fear of any parent is losing a child. It was October 27th. It was my very first meeting that I was supposed to have in person at my farm. And I had a tickle in my throat. And so I had decided to do it virtually. And I had called my forum members and I said, hey, I'm gonna do this call virtually because we were still very scared about COVID. And my daughter she had just graduated 3 months prior. And she was a freshman at Howard University. And she did not go because of the learning in place. So I have a building, and it has retail on the bottom and apartments upstairs. So I had let her and her roommate live there for, as their college experience. So I had been there for hours, and I finally went in to see her to see if she wanted some lunch before I got on this 4-hour call. And she was laying on the couch face down, and I just said, can you even breathe like that? Because the way her head was in this pillow, it just didn't seem like she could breathe. So I moved the pillow, and I found that my daughter had passed away in her sleep. She was frozen, and she was very blue. So it was not a, let me call 911 and try to get her, to rescue her. She was gone. And at that very moment, the fear just kind of releases because it's happened and there's nothing you can do to change it. So after that, we had 3 days or 4 days of a storm. And so we had to go to a hotel, but my oldest son wanted to stay at home. And I came home to get some clothes, and I realized that he was in the car with his girlfriend, getting high as he could get. And there was just smoke everywhere. And I went back to the hotel and I told my husband, I said, hey, if we don't set the tone for how to get through this, we could lose them all. We could lose our oldest to drugs and alcohol. Our middle son is on the spectrum and he's kind of a recluse. He's very happy being by himself. And we had a 12-year-old who, might not blossom because she would live in the shadow of her dead sister. Then we had the 3 nieces. One's birthday was the very next day. Her 10th birthday. It was her first birthday without her mother, because her mother had just passed as well. And, we just had to keep going. So when I talk about using fuel to move you past your fire, that is what I'm talking about. So the very first takeaway that I want you to have is name your dragon. Everyone has a dragon. Everyone is being prepared to go and slay your dragon. You can't fight what you don't face. It could be anything. It could be cash flow. It can be a toxic teammate. It can be mental health. It could be personal. So I want you guys to take out your pens and paper, phone, and I want you to answer this question. What is the single biggest obstacle holding your business or your life back right now? The second takeaway I want you to think about is to face it with grit, not perfection. It's never going to be the perfect time. I wasn't even ready to come up here and talk today, but I'm pushing through because there's no other way. You're never going to find the right time. You're never going to have the right words. I didn't even know what to wear. I decided red because of the fire and the flames. So your dragon thrives on hesitation. So I encourage you to push through that. Also answer this question. What is one bold, imperfect strike I will make against my dragon this week? And write that down. What are you going to commit to? Make the hard call. Send the proposal. Ask for help. Just move. And the third takeaway I want you to do is turn your dragon into fuel. The thing that feels like it's breaking you might actually be the thing that builds you up. Loss taught me empathy. COVID taught me adaptability. Social unrest taught me courage. And your dragon might look like rejection. It might look like failure. It might look like resistance, layoffs, health scares. Some of us might be fighting some health issues. But what if your dragon is training you to level up and to push you to go to the next level? So I want you, what is it teaching you and how is this growing me? Answer that question. My final charge to you is to slay your dragon. Don't run, don't hide, don't hesitate. When you name it, face it, and turn it into fuel, you transform. From this experience with my daughter, we have created a nonprofit, and we have raised over 100. We gave away this year alone $101,000 for 89 kids to go to school. Thank you. And I see her old volleyball coach in the back here. He had taught her in volleyball in middle school. Thank you for coming. But anyway, I want you guys to go out there and slay your own dragons. My name is Michelle. Thank you so much.